What if I told you that some of the foods you've been feeding your elderly loved ones, foods you thought were healthy, might actually be putting them at risk? I know it sounds hard to believe. You've probably been told for years that nuts are the perfect snack, packed with healthy fats, fiber, and protein. But what if I told you that some of those same nuts could be causing more harm than good, especially for seniors? You see, as our bodies age, our nutritional needs change. What was once a harmless snack could be causing digestive issues, inflammation, or worse, and you as their caregiver might not even know the difference. It's time to rethink the choices you're making. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you on a journey into the surprising truth about nuts and their impact on your loved one's health. I'll reveal 4 nuts that you should never touch, and 4 that you must include in their diet to support their health in ways you probably never imagined. Trust me, you're going to be shocked by the science behind all of this. Imagine being able to make a real positive change in your loved one's health with just a few simple tweaks to their diet. In the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly how to do just that. So grab a seat and get ready, because what I'm about to share could make all the difference. But before we dive in, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Elder Mature Moments for more eye-opening tips on elderly care, and don't forget to hit that bell so you never miss a video. Now let's get started on this important journey together. When it comes to elderly care, diet isn't just important, it can be the fine line between comfort and complication, between feeling energetic and vibrant, or sluggish and sick. And what's most surprising, it's not always the big stuff that does the damage. Sometimes it's the small things we overlook, the ones we think are healthy, like nuts. Yes, nuts. You may not realize it, but certain nuts could be quietly causing more harm than good to the seniors you care about. From blood pressure spikes, to gut discomfort, to dangerous allergic responses that worsen with age, some nuts are just not meant for aging bodies. And here's the thing, most people have no idea. They offer them up in trail mix or grind them into nut butters, thinking they're doing something good, but for an older body, things work differently. A nut that supports a young adult's energy could wreak havoc on an 80-year-old's digestion or heart rhythm. Let me show you why. Because the first nut I'm going to talk about can cause severe reactions in seniors, and not just the obvious allergic kind. I'm talking about side effects that creep up slowly, like memory fog, increased fatigue, or even worsened arthritis pain. But that's not the only one. There's a nut that's hiding in plain sight in pantries, snack bars, even healthy senior meal plans. It looks harmless, maybe even familiar, but for some seniors it's like poison to their joints and blood vessels. And we're going to get to that in just a moment. But before I reveal which nut is the most dangerous, and I promise it's one you probably have in your kitchen right now, let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk about the good ones. The 4 nuts that you should be feeding your elderly loved one. The ones that are actually backed by research for their brain support, heart health, immune strength, and even bone preservation. These nuts are like nature's medicine when used correctly. They can boost well-being in ways that pills often can't. And one of them is so underrated it barely makes the headlines. But it has a quiet superpower that could help reduce inflammation, improve memory, and even support better sleep in older adults. You're about to hear all 4 and what makes each of them uniquely powerful for aging bodies. But remember, every nut I mention from this point forward isn't just food, it's a tool for wellness, or in the wrong case, a trigger for trouble. So let's take a closer look. What should you really be feeding the seniors you love? Stay with me, because what you learn next might change your grocery list forever. Let me tell you about a client I once worked with. Her name was Angela. Her grandmother, a sweet, soft-spoken woman in her late 80s, had always been in relatively good health. No major issues, always sharp-minded, with a gentle laugh that warmed the room. But something changed. Out of nowhere, she started complaining about stomach pain, bloating, and even occasional nausea. At first, they chalked it up to age. It's probably just part of getting older, they said. Maybe her digestion was slowing down, or she was just reacting to other medication. You know how that goes. But something didn't sit right. They took her to a doctor. Tests came back normal. No ulcers, no infections, nothing obvious. But every week she got a little weaker, a little more tired. She began skipping meals, avoiding her favorite walk. And then during a conversation, Angela casually mentioned that her grandmother loved snacking on a particular kind of nut. Every day, sometimes twice a day. It seemed innocent enough. It was in her trail mix. It was roasted, salted. She loved the crunch. She thought she was making a smart snack choice. But little did she know that very nut was silently working against her body. What nut was it? Cashews. Now don't get me wrong, cashews are delicious. Creamy, versatile, popular, but for seniors, especially those with sensitive digestion, they can be a real problem. You see, cashews are technically not even true nuts. They're seeds from the cashew apple, and they're high in a compound called urushiol, the same chemical found in poison ivy. While processing removes most of it, traces can remain. And for some elderly people with weakened immune responses or fragile digestion, even a little can cause inflammation, stomach discomfort, or skin reactions. And that's not all. Cashews are also high in oxalates, which can contribute to kidney issues, something many older adults are already at risk for. If your loved one has ever had kidney stones, this nut could be setting them up for another painful round. But here's the kicker, most people don't know this. They group nuts all together. They're healthy, they say, full of protein and good fats, right? But the truth is, not all nuts are created equal. Especially not for an elderly person whose system processes food differently than it used to. That's why cashews, despite their smooth taste, can be a ticking time bomb, a snack that slowly chips away at their comfort and well-being without ever raising a red flag. Now, before I go deeper into the science of why this nut creates such problems, because believe me, there's more we need to talk about, a solution. Let's shift from what not to give to what absolutely should be on their plate. Because the next nut I'm about to introduce, it's not only safe, it's a powerhouse. One that supports brain health, fights inflammation, even helps stabilize mood and sleep. It's simple, affordable, and often overlooked. Let's talk about that next, because this could change your loved one's life. Let me take you back to a story that still makes me smile. I was working with a senior gentleman named Mr. Thompson, late 70s, proud father of 5, retired school principal. He was sharp as a tack, full of wisdom, but battling a problem that kept nagging him: high cholesterol. His numbers had been creeping up over the years. His doctor warned him. Medications helped a little, but he wasn't comfortable relying on pills alone. He wanted to feel in control again, and that's where we started looking at his diet, one small change at a time. Now, Miss Thompson loved snacking, especially during his crossword puzzles. So I suggested something simple, just a handful of this one particular nut, a few times a week. Nothing fancy, no complicated recipes, just a handful. 3 months later, his cholesterol dropped significantly. His LDL, the bad cholesterol, down. His HDL, the good kind, up. And his energy, higher than it had been in years. He looked at me smiling over his glasses and said, "That's the best nut I've ever eaten in my life." So what nut was it? Walnuts. Yes, the wrinkly brain-shaped nut most people walk right past in the store. But let me tell you something, this nut is gold for seniors, packed with omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, magnesium, and vitamin E. Walnuts are like a multi-tool for the aging body. They help reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, support brain function, and even aid in managing blood pressure. And here's the beautiful part, they're plant-based, easy to digest, and rich in fiber, making them perfect for seniors who need gentle, nourishing foods. But here's the catch. A lot of people avoid walnuts. They'll say, oh, they're too fatty or they're too high in calories. And while it's true that walnuts are calorie dense, it's a different kind of fat. The kind your body actually needs. Unsaturated fats that lower cholesterol, nourish the brain, and help protect against age-related diseases. See, that's the misunderstanding. We've been taught to fear fat. But in the case of walnuts, this fear is keeping so many elderly people from one of the best health allies out there. Even just a few walnuts a day can support memory, stabilize mood, and protect the heart. And for someone in their 70s or 80s, that's not just helpful, that's life-changing. So, the next time you're reaching for a snack for your loved one, or for yourself, skip the crackers, skip the overly salted mix, and go for the walnuts. But we're not done, because while walnuts may be a hero, there's another nut out there that's not so friendly. It's sneaky, looks harmless, often shows up in gift baskets and party bowls, but for seniors, it could cause real trouble. Let's talk about it next. Because you need to know the full story, let me tell you something that hit close to home for a family I worked with. Their mother, Miss Wilshire, was a sweet woman in her early 80s. She loved gardening, sipping warm tea on the porch, and snacking while watching her favorite shows. Over time, her family noticed she was gaining weight, not rapidly, but steadily. They brushed it off at first, thinking, well, she's getting old, she's less active, that's normal, right? But something didn't feel right. She was also more sluggish, often tired, and her blood sugar levels had started creeping upward. When we took a closer look at her daily diet, we found something surprising. It wasn't the sweets or the carbs. It was the nuts she was snacking on, specifically, one kind that she kept in a jar by her favorite chair. She loved them, thought they were healthy, and why wouldn't she? Everything online said they were packed with protein, good for energy, and a great alternative to junk food. But what no one told her was that these particular nuts, cashews, could do more harm than good for someone her age and condition. Now don't get me wrong, cashews aren't bad for everyone, but for seniors with slower metabolism, blood sugar concerns, or difficulty managing weight, cashews can be a hidden trap. You see, cashews are high in calories, rich in fats, and contain natural sugars. They're denser than most people realize. And while they taste mild and buttery, they can spike insulin, lead to fluid retention, and contribute to unwanted weight gain, especially when eaten frequently. But that's not the whole story. For seniors dealing with kidney issues or even slight sodium sensitivity, cashews, especially the salted or roasted kind, can quietly wreak havoc. The body of an elderly person doesn't always process sodium and fat the same way. What seems like a small handful of a healthy snack can actually strain the kidneys, increase blood pressure, and leave the person feeling bloated and fatigued. The problem is that most families think, well, it's just a few cashews, what's the harm? And that's the misunderstanding. It's not about the nut itself, it's about the body it's going into. The elderly body processes food differently. What used to be harmless in your 40s or 50s might become problematic in your 70s or 80s, especially when that food is energy dense, high fat, and easy to overeat. That's why we had to make a shift with Mrs. Wilshire. We swapped the cashews for a different kind of nut, one that gave her energy without the blood sugar crash, and supported her heart without weighing her down, and the change. Within weeks, her energy picked up, her swelling reduced, her blood pressure eased a bit. Her family couldn't believe such a small change made such a huge difference. So if you've got cashews in the kitchen and an elderly loved one under your care, just pause, think about how often they're eating them and what else might be going on in their health. But don't worry, because there's a better option out there, one that's not only safer but incredibly powerful for senior health, and that's what we're talking about next. Stay with me, because this one is a total game changer. Narrator's voice, warm, calm, deeply reassuring, yet filled with quiet awe and wonder, like a trusted friend sharing something truly life-changing. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Picture your elderly mother or father. Maybe they've been moving slower lately, needing help getting around, feeling tired even after a full night's sleep. You've tried everything, more water, more rest, different medications, but nothing seems to spark that vitality they once had. Now imagine this: within just a few weeks of making a small addition to their diet, their energy levels noticeably rise. They begin moving with a little more ease, speaking with more clarity, even sleeping more peacefully. Sounds impossible, right? But I watched it happen. One of my clients came to me frustrated and worried. Her mother, Ms. Elsie, had become dependent on a walker. She wasn't ill, but her strength just wasn't what it used to be. Her memory was slipping a little. She barely made it past lunchtime without wanting to nap. We looked at her diet. There was barely any variety, lots of soft foods, very few healthy fats, and I suggested one simple addition: walnuts. She looked at me like I was joking. Walnuts? That's it? Yes, walnuts. They began adding a small serving of walnuts to her morning oatmeal. Nothing fancy, just a handful each day. 3 weeks later, I got a phone call I won't forget. Her mother was walking across the living room without her walker, not for a marathon, not running laps, just steady, confident steps across the room. She was more alert, more responsive, more alive. Now let me be clear, walnuts are not a miracle cure, but they're a powerful ally when it comes to elderly health, and most people, especially seniors, completely overlook them. See, walnuts are one of the best nuts for brain health. They're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, particularly alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, which supports cognitive function, reduces inflammation, and helps keep blood vessels flexible and healthy. They're also rich in antioxidants, which combat the oxidative stress that naturally builds up in the aging brain and body. That means sharper memory, better mood, mood, and even more physical stamina. And here's what really surprises most people: walnuts actually help regulate blood sugar. Despite their slightly sweet, earthy taste, they have a low glycemic index and don't spike insulin levels. In fact, they can help stabilize energy and even improve cholesterol levels over time. And here's the big misunderstanding: many seniors avoid walnuts because they think they're too rich or too fatty, especially if they've had issues with their weight or blood sugar in the past. I get it, fat gets a bad rap, but not all fats are created equal. The fats in walnuts are heart-healthy, brain-supporting, and metabolically friendly. In moderation, they can fuel the body without overwhelming it. You see, aging doesn't mean giving up on vitality. It just means being smarter about how you support the body, and walnuts are one of those smart, supportive choices. So if your elderly loved one is dealing with fatigue, forgetfulness, poor circulation, or even mood swings, consider making walnuts a regular part of their diet. A few each morning, maybe chopped into yogurt or oatmeal, maybe a small bowl in the evening instead of cookies or crackers. It's a small step, but one that can make a world of difference. And the best part, unlike some health changes, this one's not expensive, not complicated, and doesn't require medication. Just nature's design doing what it was always meant to do: nourish, support, and restore. Stick with me because we're not done yet. You know, it's so easy to overlook what we feed our elderly loved ones. We get caught up in routines, what's convenient, what they've always liked, what seems harmless. A handful of mixed nuts here, a snack bowl on the table there. Maybe you even thought, well, nuts are healthy. But here's the truth most people don't realize until it's too late: small things add up. And when it comes to elderly health, those small things, those tiny food choices, can quietly build into major consequences. Now take a moment and just imagine this with me. What if all it took to improve your loved one's memory, energy, or digestion was simply choosing the right type of nut? What if that late afternoon slump, that nighttime discomfort, or that rising blood pressure wasn't just aging, but something entirely avoidable? What if you could change all of that just by paying attention to what's on their plate? Because here's the thing, you can. I've seen it happen more than once, and yet many people miss it. They never pause long enough to really ask, is this helping or hurting? Let me ask you now, and I mean this with no judgment, only care: are you paying attention to the signs? Maybe your loved one seems bloated after meals, maybe their mood has shifted, maybe they're not sleeping well, or their energy seems to dip right after a snack. Have you stopped to wonder why? What if it was that tiny handful of nuts you thought were healthy? It's a sobering thought, isn't it? And I know that might feel heavy, like you could have done something sooner, like maybe you've already missed something. But I want to tell you something important. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. It's not about guilt, it's about growth. And the great news is, you are not powerless. In fact, the very opposite is true. You have so much power in this moment. By making these small shifts, by removing the wrong nuts and replacing them with the right ones, you can protect your loved ones in ways that prescriptions and routines never could. Because food isn't just food. For seniors, food is medicine, it's strength, it's stability, it's comfort, and it's prevention. You hold that key every single time you prepare a meal or stock the kitchen. So if you've ever felt helpless watching someone you love grow weaker or more tired, if you've ever wished there was something more you could do, let this be your reminder: you can do something right now, starting today. Choose foods that heal. Say goodbye to the ones that harm. This isn't about perfection, it's about protection. This isn't about fear, it's about taking back control. So stay with me, because in just a moment, I'm going to reveal the most dangerous nut you might still have in your pantry, the one that's been marketed as healthy, but could be quietly harming your elderly loved one every single day. You need to hear this, because once you know what to look for, you'll never unsee it. Let's keep going. Let's be real for a second. Ignoring these signs, brushing them off like they're just part of getting older, it might feel harmless now, but what you don't see today can show up later as something you never wanted to deal with. I've seen it firsthand. A daughter thought her dad's fatigue was just part of being aged, but after months of ignoring the subtle clues, his bloating, his foggy memory, the small weight gain, his health took a turn. Doctors found inflammation in places they never expected. Turns out it was tied back to something as simple as what he was snacking on: nuts. That's why I'm telling you this. Because something so small, so ordinary, can slowly chip away at the comfort and health of someone you love. I know you don't want that. You're here watching this because you care, you want to do better. You're the kind of person who shows up, who puts in the effort, who's trying even when it's hard, even when it's thankless, even when you feel like no one sees all you're carrying. Well, I see you, and let me tell you this, you're not too late. You haven't missed the window. You can change the trajectory right now. That bowl of nuts on the counter, that healthy snack your loved one enjoys every day, it could be helping them or it could be hurting them. It's time to know the difference, because when you feed them the right foods, their body thanks you. Their mood lifts, their strength returns, their sleep deepens, they smile more, they live more. You see it, you feel it, and they feel it too, even if they never say a word. Look, it's not easy to face these kinds of realities, to think that something as innocent as a snack could make such a big impact. But let me ask you this, wouldn't it feel worse to realize you could have done something and didn't? Wouldn't it haunt you to that one small change could have meant fewer pills, fewer doctor visits, fewer nights worrying if they'll be okay? That's why this moment matters. This is your chance to say no more guessing, no more risking, no more assuming that everything labeled healthy is actually safe, because your loved one deserves better than that. They deserve a diet that supports their age, their needs, and their future, and you deserve the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're giving them exactly that. So what's the most dangerous nut that could be hiding in your pantry right now? It's the cashew. Yes, the one that seems so creamy, so rich, so delicious. Cashews contain urushiol, the same substance found in poison ivy. And while they're usually processed to remove most of it, they're still high in oxalates, compounds that can aggravate kidney issues, especially in seniors. For an aging body that's already working harder to stay in balance, cashews can become a silent stressor on the kidneys, digestion, and joints. Not to mention their high fat content, which can easily lead to unwanted weight gain when metabolism is already slower. And here's the thing, most people have no idea. They think they're doing something good. So if you've got cashews in the house, don't panic. Just pause, take a breath, and rethink what goes into that snack bowl tomorrow. Because now, you know better, and when you know better, you do better. Stick with me because we're not done yet. I'm about to share the final nut that needs to be a regular part of your loved one's diet. It's often overlooked, but its benefits for seniors are absolutely extraordinary. Let's finish strong, so let's bring it all together. We've just unpacked something powerful. 4 simple nuts. 2 that could quietly harm your elderly loved one's health, and 2 that could absolutely transform it. Let's do a quick recap, but not just a list. Let's remind ourselves why this matters. Nut 1 to avoid. The one that triggered inflammation and gut issues. It looked harmless, but it was hiding digestive landmines, especially for delicate senior systems. Nut 2 to include. The cholesterol-lowering, heart-boosting powerhouse. This nut isn't the enemy, it's a silent warrior when you give it the chance. Nut 3 to avoid. The sneaky culprit behind mysterious weight gain and metabolic stress. Families miss the signs, but now you. Nut 4 to include. The brain-supporting, sugar-regulating champion. It gave an elderly client enough renewed strength to walk on her own again. These aren't just nuts, they're daily decisions, tiny bite-sized choices that stack up either toward health and longevity or toward fatigue, illness, and regret. But here's what no one tells you. It's not just about knowing what to avoid and what to add. It's about watching, paying attention, asking the hard questions, taking 5 minutes each day to check, to prepare, to care. That's what creates change. And now, let's turn it over to you. Let me ask you, which nut surprised you the most today? Was there one you thought was totally safe, but now realize could be causing more harm than good? Or maybe you've already been giving your loved one of the right nuts, and you've noticed a real difference. I want to hear from you. Scroll down to the comments and share, not just for me, but for someone else watching this who's at the beginning of their journey. Your comment might be the reason another caregiver takes that first step. Your story might help someone feel less alone. And hey, if you found even one insight helpful today, go ahead and tap that like button. It's a small click that tells me you're with me, that you care, that this mission we're on together, it matters. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're just getting started. In the next video, we're diving even deeper into surprising foods that seem innocent but can secretly disrupt sleep, trigger blood pressure spikes, or even dull mental clarity. We'll also cover the best brain-boosting snacks, anti-inflammatory pantry swaps, and daily nutrition hacks you can use right now. And I promise this, everything I share is backed by research, wrapped in empathy, and made for you, the unsung hero doing the work day in and day out. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to care when it's hard. Thank you for wanting better for them and for yourself. This is more than a video, this is a movement. You and I, we're building a community of hope, of healing, and of health. One bite at a time, one step at a time. This is Elder Mature Moments. Let's keep making these years, their years, the very best they can be. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.